Good everybody. Hope you're having a good weekend if you're in Europe, because it's about coming up to 1 o'clock here. And I'm a little bit early again because I want to jump onto the other side before the tracker update happens at 12 o'clock. It's always fun just to see what's going on there. The interesting one is the actual doldrums here. It's looking quite interesting in the fact that there's not a lot, and it looks as if already these northeasterly trades, which have turned into a northerly and heading into a northwesterly, are actually reaching across in, but we'll move that up the track, up the way in a minute. So for now, Penduic, like the previous 4 hours, is just still moving, 4.1 knots, and the Esprit de Keep was doing 2.8, so they've obviously fallen in the hole. I'll bring this, this is the previous weather, I'll bring it up to 12 in a minute when we get there. And that other boat that we don't talk about, right down the back here, doing 6.4 knots, at least they're moving, but they've got nowhere to go. Good news is they're in the easterly flow, so they've got 4,650 miles to go. And Sterner doing 6.1 knots, the previous one, and they've got 4,300. So in the last 2 days, a couple of days ago, Explorer was 60 miles behind Sterner. Now they're 360 miles behind Sterner. So, I mentioned their name. I wasn't meant to say that. Anyway, that's cool. Triana's on the move. They've been doing 7.4 knots in the previous 4 hours. Before this one, it's about to roll over in a minute, so they'll be happy with that. White Shadow hanging on to them, 7.4 knots. Galliana doing 8.1 knots. And Outlaws on the move. This was 4 hours before, because it's about to change, 8.6 knots. And Helsinki 7.6 when Maiden was on 5. So they're reaching up into the doldrums here, but translated, they'd actually dropped back to 3.5, but they were still moving previously. So as we mentioned, they've actually caught up a little bit to the leaders. Anyway, it's about to roll over. So before we get there to see what's happening, I'll come back here and have a quick chat. Not a lot to talk about, actually. The tweets have all been pretty straightforward, if you've been following that. Sterner's running out of coffee machine or their filter papers or something. They didn't stack. So they're in a major distress. They might be not using it. In fact, they can use the coffee in the pair of socks and just maybe strain it through the socks or something, but that'll be interesting. So that's pretty cool. It's the weekend. I'm going to put a link up to the Golden Globe Race 2018 documentary, which is a separate subject. It's a single-handed race around the world. It was the first retro race that we put on a few years back, and the movie was only finished 18 months ago. It hasn't got a distributor yet, but we're still working on that. But you can get it online, so I'm going to put the trailer up so you can have a look at that. If you want to, you'll see the trailer anyway. And if you want it, you can actually buy it. It's quite an epic. Tapio's in there, plays quite a lead role. So I just really jumped thinking. Anyway, it's all working. So so that's about it. So yeah, not a lot to talk about now. Things going on. There's we're going to put a brief up on how you get to Cowes to see the boats arriving. There's a couple of different ferries. There's a car ferry and there's a people ferry. But there's also 2 people ferries that go to 2 different spots. So next week we'll put some directions up for those that want to head out to Cowes and get into Trinity Landing to meet the boats when they come in, or if you're going out with your own boats or whatever it is, we'll just give you details on that as well. Okay, that's about it. We'll go straight over to the tracker, which should be now new figures by 12 o'clock. Oh, yeah, they are, because there's movement in the camp up here. So we'll start off at the back end of the fleet and come to the doldrums after. So that boat with no name is doing 5.7. They've slowed down a little bit because they're probably squeezing up on the headwinds. This is the big plus for them. You can see now, both Sterner and the other boat, they've got an easterly airflow, which is a big plus. So they've climbed high enough to get out of the rollover there where it's starting to go down. It's not very strong by the look of it there. It's probably only 10 to 15. But anyway, they're still making progress. So right now they've still got 4,650 miles to go. They only did 60-mile day. So very slow progress. Sterner, on the other hand, is doing 7.3 knots, roaring along. I don't know if they did 245-mile day, but anyway, they are doing quite well at that. 4,276 to go. So, yeah, they've moved out even further on that boat with no name. And a White Shadow, still managing 7.6 knots, which is pretty impressive. They got plenty up. They'd have asymmetrics up, I reckon. 188-mile day, and hanging on to Triana as best they can, who's also doing 7.4 knots and 189-mile day. So they only got 1 mile in it. This is all interesting stuff because in these conditions, I'm sure they've got kites up, and so it's easier to trim a kite in a way than it is to trim head sails and so on, because Triana's often streaking away from White Shadow, but they're in pretty much basically the similar weather, and White Shadow's managing to hang on to them, so they'd be happy with that anyway. Evrika doing 8.2 knots, screaming out to the northeast there, which is interesting. And they've done a 169-mile day. Galliana with Secure, 8.3 knots and 188-mile day. And again, there's a bit of fun going on there in a way. They're big separation, but hanging on to each other. And Outlaw, 6.8 knots, 191-mile day. So Outlaw's coming up into the start of the doldrums. This is the interesting bit. Well, that's not actually the weather they're getting right now. This is at 10:30 UTC. So you watch as I move that one button, you can see how it changes very quickly. That sort of trough there of no wind, the transition between, if we come back, you can see here's what was the northeasterly trades rolling around. That's extending south. This is the equator here, by the way. So Penduic and L'Esprit de Keep, once they get the other side of the equator, if this strong trade winds here keep pushing down and holds, they'll be on their way for sure. So just to have a look at that before we roll the weather through, you can see what's driving this. It's a pretty solid airflow. So you can't see it. It's not a center. It's just a gradient. So there's a gradient there, but it's strong enough to squeeze the doldrums and head south, head way down. So it's coming down to meet the fleet. And long may it last. It's unusually a fair way south. So normally it wouldn't be quite that far, but it's working in favour for the guys in front here, and they may well be over that already. So I'll just pick that up again here. So yeah, so you can see what's happening there. So I'll now just kick this one over, and that's about what they've got. Now Maiden's coming out to the right of the course here. They're quite a way offshore, and they may go into a hole. They're slowing down because this, you can see that area there, that could be real with this graphic. And normally this is the thinnest part. You try not to go too far across at that point. I mean, it's not extreme, but they're certainly the furthest out to the east, and doing 4.1, whereas Helsinki is doing 5.8, a little bit more, 166 mile day. So anyway, lots of local stuff happening. It's looking like Translated might be on the other side. There is this strange, it's not as apparent now, but it certainly was yesterday. Just in here, there seems to be a bridge, and Translated may have locked into that, and they've been making 6.7, so quite good progress. So if we tried to pick a distance, 3733 against 36. So they're 133 miles behind Penduic, and that puts them very much in touch, especially if they get across the doldrums here, and they actually get into this similar airflow as Penduic. That's going to make a huge amount of difference. They're a little bit to leeward because when they get down here, obviously this is the windward side of the course, which means Penduic could crack off a little bit compared to Translated to hold it together so that Penduic can get speed, whereas Translated have to hold up. With this wind direction, they're going to go way out here to the west, but you can see straight away as you're climbing, it goes into a northeasterly, and then they can hook around and go north, and that's part of the general concept for the passage north. They just hold as high as they can slowly roll around as it swings to the northeast. And it's just another week or so of sort of close reaching. The choice between boat speed or course. The faster the boat speed, you're paying off a little bit. Slow up a bit and point higher, and you're going to get there quicker because you're trying to, I've mentioned this before, you're trying to get to the Azores, which is here. So you're following the rum line basically, and that's sort of your target there. You wouldn't want to be there right now because you've got this big solid bit coming through. Let's just have a look at what it changes. Usually it's still sort of a little bit of headwind, but there's a very distinct high pressure system there, and that usually comes across here, across the Azores. It's called the Azores High. So this is pretty traditional, just as you had the South Atlantic High in between Cape Horn and South Africa. You get what's called the Azores High, and it'll slowly move across this way and plant itself right on top of the Azores. So let's see if that's what this one's going to do. Yeah, it's coming across, it's squashed down, being squashed down by the strength of this flow here, but it's still pretty close. So that's a typical Azores High. Come across. No, it's gone way south. But anyway, so usually when you get this Azores High here, you can see you try and work your way up to there, and on the top of it, you've got these westerly breezes or northwesterly breezes that you hook around and head back over towards England. So even on this, even though that's extreme strength, once you get above the high, it's not too bad because you're reaching across. But at the moment, it's a little bit strong there. That's quite strong. So, but we're early in this season as well. So this sort of situation here could actually happen as they're closing the coast. It won't be unusual for them to get a storm coming in towards the channel and working their way towards Cowes. It's not summer yet. By the time they get back, they'll be there. Leaders could be there still 10, 11 of April, something like that, which is not summer, put it that way. And you can still get some heavy winds there. So that's kind of interesting. And you can see also that Azores High drives off the southeastern corner of that, the northeasterly trade winds. This is them coming down here. And now the good news there is that's the 26th, and it's still pushing down south to the equator. So the doldrums might be narrow for when the tail enders get there. Anyway, back to today's weather. And we'll do a close-up as we push that through to see what they're likely to get in the next couple of days. I'll just focus on the top end of the fleet here on the doldrums, and then we'll see what it looks like. So I'm pushing it through. So that's around about now. And okay, so that area of no wind, this is this afternoon, and this is coming up to tonight. The area of no wind is actually quite small indeed. And this is it's not usually when it shows a big hole like this, nothing. You get thunderstorms and squalls and lightning and all sorts. There's a few things going on here. That's quite a strong bit of pressure there. And this is only by late tonight. So Maiden and Helsinki and Outlaw will probably sail with this. So they might just zip up behind the Esprit de Keep by the look of it, because these guys have got some light winds coming. Certainly, it's clear to me, if this is correct, that Penduic is over the hill. It's actually it's on the opposite side of the doldrums at this stage. And the Esprit de Keep in a bit of no man's land there. You can see it's all converging in. The others, Neptune might slow down and stop. Translated, might just keep going. And the others have got a breeze that's going to take them right up into the doldrums. So that's in the next 12 hours. So just pushing through for 24 hours. Okay, so you can see that. Oh, boy. Okay, so this is, you can see what's happening here. Helsinki and Maiden miss out with some light headwinds, but look at this. Penduic may hook onto this ramp here again, or this system, just to push them further north. So tomorrow morning we might see them really clear out, because she'll be up here then. She could actually be on this system getting a real boost, doing 10 knots, 10, 11 knots. The Esprit de Keep could be with her as well. We'll have to wait and see. Neptune's going to just park. So in 24 hours, Neptune will probably stop. And Translated may keep running up on this bridge. This general bridge, while it's fluctuating in and out on strength, is still holding approximately that position. Now, that's good luck rather than good planning for Translated 9. There's no way this would have been forecast, even if they're getting weather forecasts. I doubt. So they haven't planned to be there. It's just the right place at the right time. So you may well see Translated follow Penduic, and possibly even L'Esprit de Keep up there as well. So that's pretty cool. Guys down the bottom, mixed bag. The mid fleet here is a bit of a mixed bag. I don't think you'll see them compress much more. But nonetheless, they'll still be sailing consistently. And down here, oh, jeepers, they might be lucky because it's gone into a southeasterly now. That's what they want. With that kind of breeze, you can follow it up here. This is 24 hours from now. They can follow it up along the coast. And ironically, there's still a current there, but it turns into a counter current, I think. No. Okay, so for the tail enders, nope, they're not going to get any benefit there. Here's where it turns into a counter current, but that's still quite some distance off for that one. Yeah, they're not going to be there in that time. So, but it might hold, and then probably what will happen is they'll tack across here and come out the heat current, and then they'll go up into nothing. But anyway, you can see here there's quite a few currents hooking up around the corner if you're going up to the Caribbean. But Translated has already sailed through it. It's been cutting it at 90 degrees, so they probably think they're heading in this direction, but the current is taking them a little bit to the west, and Neptune's definitely folding down. No head currents there. L'Esprit de Keep sitting in a bit of a one, but nothing to tell your mother about, you know. It's all pretty average there. Triana's pretty clear on the current. Sterna so-so. So that's okay. We'll get rid of the current. How's the clouds going? I'm waffling on a bit here, giving you a full rundown. Oh, that's interesting. This is this big patch just to the left of, this is 24 hours out. That's interesting. This is showing clouds and a little bit of rain, some pretty intense wind there as well. So certainly squalls and instability in through here, which is what they want. That's better than having nothing. So could be good for L'Esprit de Keep and Penduic, and also Translated with those clouds there. So waves will all be pretty simple, yeah, all under 2. So anything under 2 knots. All right, so that's 24 hours out. Get rid of that so we can see a bit better. Let's just have a look now. Going for the second day, it's moving ahead, and then there's not much. Okay, so on that basis, we're into a day and a half from now. So this is about midday tomorrow. Now we're, that's actually, no, that's the 25th. 3, 4, 5. I forget, one press of the button moves really fast. So this is 23, 24. So that's a day and a half. 24 come into 25. Okay, so this is the second day, and you can see there's a lot of light weather everywhere for everyone, but at least there is a pressure gradient here. And by that I mean a consistent forecast wind rather than a big blue empty patch. So that's going to keep them moving, even though it's a little bit slow. You might see some boats under a squall that pick up to 8 knots or something, or over 4 hours, but generally it's just going to be slow. So there's breeze for Translated, breeze for Penduic, breeze for L'Esprit de Keep, breeze for Helsinki, a little bit less maybe for Maiden. So it's looking pretty good. That's a day and a half from now, and it'll keep going until midnight. It looks really good. You can see there's plenty of colour. Maybe a little bit less for Maiden out to the east, but Translated and Penduic, generally looks really good. So I think they're through it. That'll be sailing at 6 and 7 knots through here. So that may be a little bit faster as well. So I think they're pretty much home and hosed. I'm just going to keep pushing it through now. We'll have a peek down the bottom here. Okay, still the easterly, but it's light. It's not strong at all. So Explorer should be able to make the most of that. They may not have to tack. Sterner's okay. So theoretically, it means Explorer should start catching Sterner again, but let's wait and see. They've got Shell on the bottom. Galliana should be doing all right. They like the light stuff. They perform very well in light. So, yeah, that's about all I can tell you there. I'll come back now and just have a look at what's going on with the doldrums again here. Just pushing it forward a few days for the mid-fleet and the others. It's looking pretty light, but there's still a breeze there. It's not a lost cause, even on the 27th. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the tail enders need to be up there and through by the 27th, because I think then it's opening up a bit. No, it's not too bad. 28th. They don't want to be there the 28th. Anyway, all looking cool. So what's happening on the leaderboard now? Have a look here, and we'll go to the full deal. Forget about IRC for a minute. Line on is pretty straightforward. Forget about Sterner. They're not leading the pack. They didn't do 245 miles with a VMG of 12.4. So it could be Outlaw. That's not right either. This is for line honors. No, that's not working right. No, Vegan Maiden translated. No, we might just forget about that. There's a glitch there because Penduic is not down at 12 for line honors. So forget that. It might play havoc with the IRC as well. Yeah, Sterner's not there because this is recent rather than from the start. But even then, this could look a little bit better. Just checking a few numbers here. Yeah, that looks pretty reasonable. So L'Esprit de Keep is still hanging in there by about 18 hours or so from translated 9. Then Maiden, this is based on, again, just to remind you the way this works, it's worked on the 24-hour distance made good and then the VMG, okay, along the run line, which is the red course line. And on that, you get an average speed. And then they put that based on the distance left to go to the finish, and comes up with an elapsed time to the finish based on those previous speed and VMG, vector made good towards the finish, and then it gives you the corrected time. So lots of variables here. It doesn't really mean too much, especially when there's only 18 hours. It just means any one boat that picks up speed compared to the others will all of a sudden leapfrog and change it all, but it's indicative of what they're doing. So Penduic coming 4th, Galliana would secure 5th, and they're all within a couple of days of each other. Then Outlaw, so really it's all a bit of a mixed bag. And if we go back towards, let's just go and have a look here. I'm on that. If I now refresh this, I'm going to look at the combined totals again, just for fun. Bearing in mind that the first 3 legs are settled. First 3 legs, IRC from the start. Okay, so this is a little bit more consistent because leg 1, 2, and 3 is settled, so it's just putting leg 4 on the top. It's still provisional and it's indicative of what is sort of happening. But Triana has still got a day and a half up their sleeve to play with compared to Maiden. Okay, and then because they were so much in front for the first 3 legs, then it goes to Spirit of Helsinki, about 3 days behind, and then Galliana would secure another couple of days, another day behind that. Now, Penduic is a fair way down the track, 192, still possible. You never know. Outlaw sounding challenging to 193 days, knowing what they do and where they are right now. So I think the ones that are in the running now, you could say it's Triana, Maiden, Spirit of Helsinki, Galliana with secure, and sort of Penduic as well. But then maybe not, because it's 192 days versus 123. So let's just say I would think Galliana with secure, Spirit of Helsinki, Maiden, and Triana are the 4 boats that are vying for realistic IRC winner of the OGR, and that's the creme de la creme. That's the main prize. It doesn't really matter It's fun for line honours in each leg, but that usually comes down to boat speed, which is usually waterline length, things like that. But IRC, a handicapping system, tries to level the playing field. So if you're winning overall for all 4 legs in IRC, you are the person or the boat and the crew and the team that wins the OGR. So all very interesting to watch. Okay, I think we're done with that. I'll just come back and say g'day and see what people are saying, and hope they're having a good weekend. G'day, Rob. John, question for Jane. Why does the Facebook tracker always start after about 30 seconds, so we always miss the beginning? Strange. That's interesting. So that means you're not seeing the groovy music and the groovy graphics and so on. Is that right? I think that's what you're referring to. The Facebook tracker always starts after about 30 seconds. If that's the case, I need to just sort of waffle on for 30 seconds once we swap the screen over to the tracker. That's a factor of the program we use. We use a BeLive Studio program that gives us all the options to. Oh, I'm still looking at the tracker here. You're not seeing me. Boom. There I am. Okay. So it gives us all the options to load pictures and other videos and share different things, and even bring in other commentators if we need them. We've never really done that because it's just pretty simple. But anyway, that's interesting. I'll look at that and discuss it with Jane. If Maiden pushes and stays 2+ days ahead of Triana, could they win the IRC overall? Absolutely. They need to be a couple of days ahead. And then, but Maiden's in with a real chance, so no question about that. Something puzzling me. This is a celestial navigation event, yet most folk have GPS-enabled watches. Are these prohibited? Absolutely. You can't have a GPS watch at all. That's not allowed. And to the best of my knowledge, none of them do. They all sign declarations. The whole crew, in fact, there's about 4 different declarations. One is the skipper confirms that they've done all their safety training. Oh, that's before departure. So on arrival, the skipper signs one to say that they've abided by the notice of race and blah, blah, blah. That only the MOB men have accessed the GPS chart plotter for safety reasons, things like that. And all the crew have been good, blah, blah, blah. And then there's one for the skipper and all the crew. They have to sign. All the crew sign they haven't breached any notice of race and blah, blah, blah. And then there's another one about the films and photographs. They have to, the skipper signs that they've handed over all the films and all the photographs to us. And there's one other. The last one is the manager. The manager who's shoreside also has to confirm that they've abided by all the conditions and this, that, and the other. As a by the way, I saw a comment. Someone was saying, "Oh, it's a bit tough that the entrants have to hand over all their footage and video and photos." Not really, and 2 reasons why it's not tough at all. The first one is that it is clear in the notice of race. If you decide to do the OGR, you're agreeing to everything in the notice of race, and we point out all the different issues. And one of them is that we share the copyright of all the material produced on board the boat. And it's the reason for that is we need copies of all of that to make the documentary, whether it's a documentary or a series or whatever. And we don't, whilst we get it all in, so we decide what we want to use. And then we work with the team because we encourage the teams to do their own documentaries because that helps spread the word about the OGR and all that sort of stuff. And they will tell their story in great detail because that's their story. And again, we don't take all the footage, use all the footage, but we need access to it so we can work out what we want to use. And that's pretty standard practice for all our events. So the entrants can't complain about that, and most of them don't. Virtually all of them don't, but let's see where it goes. So, GPS watches are absolutely not allowed. Morning from Ocean Penguins at an art show today. Good on you. Without an OGR, you will get it. And getting my OGR fixed before the art show. Good on you. G'day, Elizabeth. And I don't know. I asked John to talk 30 seconds more rubbish. Yeah, that's what I have to do. That was an answer to John Pinto, I think. I didn't notice it starts up because when we do the replay, it looks okay. Maybe it's a live thing, it's just locking in, but on the replay, I'm pretty sure it runs straight forward. Anyway, Seldom GPS watches, afternoon from Plymouth. Hey, Paul. Janet Menzel, a bridge across the doldrums. Whoopee. Yeah, it's looking, you can be lucky, that's sailing as well. So split screen with windy is very different wind again. Yeah, I could actually, I'll do it when I finish the questions here. I'm going to, while we're on live, I'll call up Windy. I think I've got my subscription on here. Yeah, and we'll have a look at the screen just for those that want to see it. I haven't looked at Windy for a while. So Maiden could maybe finally be all-women crew win around the world race. Ooh, you never know. You never know. Could do. For Heather and the girls' sake, I hope so. But anyway, then people call me, oh, you're favouring the girls. No, I'm favouring Explorer. Explorer's going to clean up. You watch. Maybe just run the longer intro before Don starts talking. I reckon that it's not delayed on the replay, John, because I've never noticed it before when I replay. So, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. All right, so that's it. Now I'm going to just call up while we're here. I'll see if I can just on Google. I'll try to get Windy weather forecasting. Yes, here it is. So now I've got to go back here. So you can all bugger off if you're not interested in this. And I will try and share that Windy on the screen. There it is there. Okay, share that. So I've got a new screen there. You're going to always allow anonymous. Hang on. Okay. Yes, I've got my premium. So now I come back here. I have I pay a little extra for Windy. So now, why is that not coming up? It hasn't come up. Shared screen. There it is. Okay, so here's Windy. And I've now got to go over. So you're looking at Windy. I'm here. And now we got to go to, where are we? Why is that there? That's interesting. Oh, I'm surprised we're down here. It must have been from a previous bit. So the 23rd, that's now. We can come up here to the doldrums. This is real time now. And there's the equator. Here's the equator here. Hang on. I'm not actually seeing right here. Okay, so yeah, that's actually showing. All right, I've got to check that you've actually got Windy on your screen. Yes, you should have Windy, so we're looking at the same thing. Okay, and yeah, it's showing a very distinct difference there. Although it's a bit of, there's a bit of breeze there. If I just pull this across here, 1 knot, 1 knot, 1 knot, 2 knot. This little flag is actually showing no wind at all through there. And the model is ECMWF. And let's just have a look at the GFS. Okay, so this is what I'm saying about the model that's used by Windy on the tracker. I'm waffling on a bit here, but it's the weekend, so there might not be many people left watching. But you can see the GFS model is suggesting that the northeasterly trades that turned into a northerly have pushed way south of the equator. So that's kind of interesting, because this is looking more like what we're seeing on the yellow brick screen. And if we go to the icon model, it's very similar to the ECMWF, which is even more interesting, because there's no question. See, here's this little bridge here that I'm talking about translated, and there's no question there's breeze because they're still sailing. So if we, which model would I say is more accurate by what we're seeing on the ground, the boats in the water? This is showing nothing, so it looks like it's the GFS model. And that's pretty much what we've got. It's very interesting, because this is now, if I had to say, this is the model we've got on the yellow brick tracker, which is the GFS. But on other occasions, especially in the Southern Ocean, I'm seeing it stuck halfway between the ECMWF model and the GFS model, and I wonder whether it's whether it's a special one for yellow brick that they commission, a combination of both. I'll have to ask yellow brick. They probably won't know, but they'll be able to ask Windy. I really like Windy. I use it all the time for a lot of different things, and but that's looking like what might be happening on the ground. Anyway, that's just a quick jump on that. So I think we're done, and I can come back here and say goodbye to everyone. So I don't think there's any more comments there. Definitely a live thing. Hi from Southampton. Yes, all good. See Windy. We love when you talk weather. Oh, okay. Whether or not, I'm still here talking weather. All right, so that's it. I'm going back to my other job, which is sitting over there, working on the notice of race. So many reviews that we've got to do of the notice of race for OGR 27. Everyone's screaming out for it, and I've been so busy. There's a lot of things going on in the background that I haven't had a chance to concentrate long enough, because we're changing the format for the that's like the document, the Word document that we've got it's a bit all over the place. And we did a big review on the Golden Globe race document, which Lutz was involved with, and he was going to have a crack at it, but he's got a new job and didn't get to finish it. So I'm trying to pick up on that, and hopefully we'll have it out beginning of next week. Okay, that's it. Have a good weekend. If all goes well, I will be here tomorrow, and we'll see you then. And have a look at. I'm going to put the trailer up on OGR for the Voyager Madman, the Golden Globe race 2018. It's a ripper. It goes for an hour and 20 minutes or something, and it's the long play version for sailors. See you later. French subtitle too. I mean English. No, French subtitles on the English version.